Going to call the meeting to order, please, and we start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next on the agenda is a public hearing. The Arundel Select Board will be conducting a public hearing on Monday, December 9th, 2024, starting at 7 p.m. The purpose of the hearing will be to discuss with the voters a proposal to allow the municipality to exceed the lot coverage at 468 Limerick Road, which is the Arundel Fire Station, from 30% to 50% to allow an expansion of the fire station at the current location.
Yes, Madam Chair, if I can just provide a little bit more history. We started back in, I believe it was August, discussing about putting together a fire station building committee. And the purpose was to, we'd identified that we needed some living quarters and some additional space for the fire department as we are beginning to evolve from a volunteer department to more of a full-time presence at the station. So in that process, we began looking at obviously an expansion on the site. As you all know, we once had the town hall there, and the town hall was dismantled as we began to relocate here. But in my review, in the review of the ordinance, there were certain provisions that need to be met. One of those provisions was that the lot coverage on the lot could not exceed 30% of the total acreage of the square footage of the lot. Our analysis right now, as exists on the site, is 42% of the lot is now covered with either the building, parking area, any type of anything that's been manufactured impervious scrabble or parking area and walkways and those things of that nature make up the 42% of the total coverage. Once we understood that, the select board felt that it was appropriate to discuss with the public our thoughts about having the ability to expand even further on that lot from what exists now, 42% to 50%. And what that would mean is that we would construct somewhere around 4,000 square foot building, which would take up a pretty big chunk of the parking lot in the front, and sort of give us a little of a staggered approach. I wish we had a visual of the front of what we thought it would be looking like. But it would give us a staggered approach to the front and a little larger footprint visually anyway. So they felt that it was appropriate to come and have this discussion with folks that showed up, pros and cons, obviously, about the expansion. The expansion would allow us to do the construction with voter approval, utilizing TIF funding, tax increment finance funding that we have captured from the Arundel cottages. We would be able to make the construction at that site and use that funding over the next 14 or 15 years to complete that project without asking the taxpayer for any further funding to fund it. So essentially, I think that's where we are at this point. We're looking for comments obviously from you folks as to your thoughts or your objections, your approvals, whatever that may be. That's what we're here for tonight. Thank you.
This is being recorded, so if you have comments, please come up to the desk and state your name for the recording, if you would, please. Go ahead. Who would like to go up? Questions? Comments? And go ahead.
It's strange being on this side. Rich Ganong.
Speak up a little bit, Rich. I know that that is on, but sometimes
the-
with that
Okay,
thing
feet,
going,
for the
it
folks
makes it a
up
little
there.
more difficult to hear.
okay. I'm Rich Ganong. I had a question. I did not realize that town hall and the fire department were on the same lot. Which, when you mentioned it, it solved my question, because I couldn't figure out why you just didn't combine the lots together, thereby increasing the size that you would have. That was it. And it's 4,000 square feet going out across the little gully that's over there.
Essentially, that's correct. We would go that way. I think the building is 62 by 62, something along those lines. That would be added, whatever the 4,000 square feet come to, is what we'd be looking at proposing at this point. Unless the voters tell us differently.
I'm in favor of it. Don't know about anybody else. I think it's a great idea.
Thank you, Rich. Anyone else? Comments, please?
Yeah, good evening, everyone. My name is Kelsey Cummings. I am in favor of it. It just seems like common sense to me. I mean, ultimately, we're talking to go from 42% currently to 50%. It's an 8% increase. Using the TIF money saves the taxpayers the burden of have to foot a lot of that bill. So I'm in favor of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelsey. Mark?
Mark LeBlanc.
Yeah.
I don't think we have a problem with the building of it. The only thing that we would ask for, if it could be included in the plans, is maybe a privacy fence where you're gonna be coming closer to our lot. You know, right now, we see everything that goes on, cars pull in, they shine in our windows. And if that could be blocked, that would be very nice.
Wonderful.
That's all we have.
Thank you, Mark.
Good.
I'm sure that when we start with some permanent plans and some costs, that will be something that we would have no problem adding to the plans.
Yeah, I would think that as we get the building, if this goes through, then the building committee gets back together, starts working it. I definitely would want to make sure that the neighbors are all fully involved and, I mean, it's gonna be right there, right next to you guys. So we definitely not gonna do anything that, you know, you don't see, so.
Other comments? No other comments? Then we will, any comments from the board? No, then we will,
Yeah, the only comment I have, if I may, I mean, we're really early in this process. It's going to take us a while to get through. I think the board has to make a decision of what kind of, how we're going to approach the land use change to allow the ordinance. I mean, there could be a municipal exemption. We could put in a conditional zoning, which would have to be, those things essentially have to go to the voters and get approved. If the voters told us no, then obviously we couldn't do it. But we're going to have to come up with a strategy of how we're going to approach the voters with that. Obviously, there'll be another public hearing at some point to talk about the change. And I believe the planning board will also get involved in that and perhaps have a public hearing reference to that zoning proposal as well. So there'll be more opportunities, not only for you folks to comment, but for other citizens to weigh in as well. And I thank you for coming out on a snowy night. Appreciate it.
okay, we'll close the public hearing and go to our regular meeting and approval of the agenda.
I have RSU 21 Board of Directors meeting update.
We'll put that under committee and board reports.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else? We need a motion to approve. Motion's been made. Do we have a second? Have that
I do.
to approve the agenda with the addition of the RSU update. All in favor? Now we come to public forum. With public forum, anyone may make comments on any item which is not already on the agenda. So would anyone like to make comments or information about anything that is not already on the agenda? Okay. So much for public forum. Approval of the minutes of November 25th.
Make a motion, we approve as submitted.
Motion's been made. Do I have a second? I have a second. All in favor? And one abstention.
Who abstained?
Jason,
Jason.
he wasn't here. Committee and board reports. Dan?
Okay, this is the Monday, December 2nd, RSU 21 school board meeting. They started at 5 PM under executive session. They came out at about 6:10. The chair had a bunch of paperwork to sign. She took care of that, and then they started the meeting at 6:17 PM. They came out with a motion to approve the labor contracts with KAKEA. They ratified that contract. All members except for Gail voted for it. Gail voted against it. And the contract is finally all ratified. Then the school board did an update. She talked about school board awards. They're kind of late this year on doing the school board awards. So she talked about that they have been identified and they will be done by the January meeting. They'll go over all the school board awards. Public comment, a couple of individuals got up. They talked about issues with bus 26 and the drop-off location, especially at River Tree Arts. They have made comments or asked the board for some comments on what was going on, and there's been no response. So they decided to make that live at a public meeting. So they had that discussion. There were no recognition reports, presentation, or announcements. Consent agenda items. There was resignation of Ferocity Sherry, the assistant principal at KHS. Resignation of Kirsten Shapiro, school board director. Acceptance of gift donated to RSU 21 by the Tommy McNamara Foundation. I believe that was $15,000. And approval of a stipend program, the Unified Club at Kennebunk High School. Those all got approved. And then they had another item on whether to hold another meeting in December. Past history, they've only had one meeting in December, and there were some members that felt that they should have another meeting. They had a long discussion on that. The board said, we'll kind of go by ear and see what happens. There are probably some special meetings that we will need to have, so they left it at that. Under the superintendent's report, the finance director gave his DIP improvement plan. If you recall, all of the boards, all of the various disciplines had to give their DIP plans, which is a 5-year plan. He talked about currently they have a fair amount of the undesignated fund, but feels that things will be tight. There's 6 million in there now, 2 million will go towards what was approved last year for the budget. And I think that things are going to be very tight come budget season. He talked about improvement communications with the community, update on a 5-year capital improvement plan. There were lots of discussions on the ADP. ADP is a new payroll process and the costs associated with that. This year, there were a lot of upfront costs that they did not anticipate. And those were just kind of learning curves and things that even ADP themselves didn't realize. ADP is a huge payroll company, but they don't deal a lot with schools, and the schools had a lot of different issues that they had to work with, and those cost money. So there were questions on whether more costs were going to be associated with it, and he felt that there would not be. And then there was another discussion on whether the consolidation, RSU consolidation, whether that saved money. The intent of consolidating was to save money. And most board members and general public kind of stood up and said, yeah, well, we didn't save money, but everyone kind of felt that the education of the kids, the resources that are available to the kids are, a lot better now than what they were before this happened. Ad hoc, let's see, communications. Leah talked a little bit about the three big picture goals, informal Q and As, connection to student reps, and better supporting staff by highlighting their achievements. The ad hoc committee met. They had 4 meetings. They talked about ways to improve the culture. And they felt that those 4 meetings were just really not enough. Their charge was for 4 meetings. But they feel that they should continue that and possibly model similar to the policy committee. So they're working on a new charge for that committee. A bunch of policies that were talked about. There was some first reads that were just some correcting some mistakes. They approved those. Second reads, they accepted those also. There was one that had some decent discussion about letting the public know when policy changes, because what happens now is the general public really doesn't know when policies are being changed. And they're trying to work a way, maybe through the communications department, to let the public know a little bit more about that. That was it. We adjourned at 8:30 p.m.
I do have one question. Did they explain what DIP stands for?
So
with
it's a
DIP plan?
department, it's a departmental improvement plan.
Okay, thank you.
So all of the, like, the principals, they all had to give their DIP plans. All of the departments had to give a 5-year improvement plan on their goals and how they're going to achieve all those goals. And that was mandated by the superintendent.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Okay, the manager's report.
Yes, first thing, I had a meeting, I had 2 meetings this morning, one with the folks from the trust about workforce housing and the lots that we may have available up off of near, I think they're map 10 lot 5, map 10 lot 6. They're up off of Bergeron Drive, adjacent to the transfer station. They're very excited about pursuing the options of those lots in anticipation that they may be available. The questions they had were access to it. If in fact the town had deeded rights over the road that exists there now, not only deeded rights, but the ability to upgrade those roads if so desired. The other thing they were asking about was cost associated with performing a survey, making sure that the property is properly surveyed, and ensure that the deeds are correct. They asked how we obtain them, and I couldn't answer that other than I think they were probably tax acquired. And we've had them for many, many years, they felt we left with the feeling that we had some more work to do that had to get done. And we'll see where it takes us, but they were encouraged, and so we'll keep working our way through that. So more discussion to follow. The other meeting I had this morning was with North Star Planning. As you know, that North Star Planning is going to now provide us contract planning services for the planning department and the planning board. They will replace Southern Maine Regional Planning for providing that service. They came in today with the 3 principal folks that will be working here in town, but the primary planner is Sam Pinkles. I couldn't pronounce her name appropriately, so I'm sure I screwed it up now. But we talked about office hours, so we're going to designate, I believe, Tuesdays from 1 to 5 p.m. that a planner will be in the office. So folks that have questions related to planning, if they're working on trying to get a project in front of the planning board, they can come in and talk about that. It leaves some time for that planner to be associated with our staff review committee, which they're integral part of, and they're more than happy to provide that service to us as well. So I think it was a favorable discussion today. I see them. We believe they're going to start with the first meeting sometime in January. So SMPDC has their last meeting with the planning board tomorrow night. They'll be wrapping up what they're going to be doing, and then we'll be moving on with North Star. They have provided us their telephone contact information, so people will put that on the website. So if people have specific little questions they want to ask, they're more than happy to answer them. So it seems like it's going to be a good working relationship with us at this point, anyway. Finally, our past town clerk, Simone Bozino, did a quilt for the town. She donated it to the town. I threw it over the TV so people could get a chance to look at it. And both the chairman and I were talking before the meeting as to where we're going to hang it. I'd like to see it somewhere in this room so people can, and maybe Simone's got a little name on the back of it, donation to the town and that kind of thing, but maybe a little plaque of some kind that we can put up. We got the Boston Post-Cane now for the oldest Arundel resident, and perhaps we can get this set up someplace where people can see it and enjoy it. So that's all I have. I thought our public hearing would be a little longer tonight.
Full and payroll warrant.
So moved.
Made and seconded to sign the payable and the payroll warrants. All in favor? Anything else? That's it?
Make a motion to approve, to adjourn at 7:35 PM, 7:25 PM.
25 PM. Okay, motion's been made to adjourn. Seconded by Jason. All in favor? That's it.